A good Erev Yantif, a good Erev Shabbos to all. I'd like to begin with the Birchat Kohanim. Vayedaber Adonai el Moshe Lemar, Daber al Rabbanim Lemar, Kesavaruchus b'nei Yisrael, Amar lahem, Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Yoer Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha, v'yosem lecha shalom. Somewhere Shemiah b'nei Yisrael v'ani avarachem. We're entering, going from the days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, going into the days of Sukkot. It's called Zman Simchasenu, the times of our joy, in which we have the holiday of Sukkot, the holiday of Shmini Atzeret, and the holiday of Simchat Torah. And it's a holiday of joy. It's a holiday of happiness, the times of joy. So happiness, that's what we all want. But what is it? What is happiness? What would make you happy? Is it like Tevye the milkman would say, if I were a rich man? Or if you won the lottery next week, would that do it? I'm sure it wouldn't hurt. So in July of 2009, there was a conference held in Peru. And it was on this question. It was, what is happiness? One of the speakers brought out that by the age of 10, the average child in the Western world has seen 1 million advertisements. 1 million advertisements by the age of 10. Denmark, on the other hand, different than United States, which was rated, by the way, in a recent study as the country with the happiest people, they had that their country saw the least amount of public advertising. And so this speaker was trying to compare Western world versus a place like Denmark. And his suggestion perhaps is that happiness is directly linked to the amount of options that were offered. Those with higher exposure to ads and commercials, hawking all types of tchotchkes that you need to covet and you need to want and you need to desire. And therefore, they become more miserable when they don't get them. In Denmark, however, they're not as exposed to all these voices and imaging telling them about all these wonderful things that they must have. People are more content with what they have. Or in other words, happiness results from being at peace with wanting what you have instead of having what you want. You follow that? To want what you have, that means you appreciate what you already have versus having what you want. So where does that leave us as Americans? How happy are people in the most prosperous country that ever existed? Well, sad to say, we're way down there on that list. But you don't have to feel too bad because Pakistan and Iraq rated lower than us. How's that for consolation? We are Americans, thank God. We are capitalists, thank God. We are consumers, thank God, who feel so free in our endless choices and our ability to buy the most amazing stuff. But are we really free? Or are we just buying into what somebody on Madison Avenue or on Google or on Facebook or Amazon tells us that we should want? Like the bumper sticker says, whoever dies with the most toys wins. Every time we think we're finally winning, some new toy comes out and we feel like losers all over again. This multi-billion-dollar industry of marketing, as admitted by advertising guru Earl Puckett, is, as he himself said, our job is to make men and women unhappy with what they have. That's their job, to make us unhappy, because if we're unhappy, we're going to buy the product that they're promoting. So you see, at the end of the day, as ethics of our fathers taught us many years ago, happiness is about one thing. It's about menuchas hanefesh, It's about peace of mind, being at peace with oneself, to be content and enjoy one's blessing without being unfulfilled by them. That's happiness. So by all means, ask God for all that your heart desires. This is the season for it. Ask for all of it. But we have to know not only how to ask, but also how to receive God's blessings. Pray for wealth, but you must also pray for the wisdom to know what to do with it. Because merely to have it does not equal happiness. Having it and having the wisdom to know what to do with it, what to do with these blessings, that's ultimately what our prayers should be about. You know the story, this guy was once driving in Manhattan and he was late for a meeting, a very important meeting that had a lot riding on it. So he arrives at his destination, but there's not a single parking space to be found. It's Manhattan. He's driving around and around and nothing, and he's getting all frustrated and aggravated. He needs to get to this meeting, and so he finally calls out, God in heaven, please help me out here. If you open a space for me, I'll be a much better Jew. I'll start keeping kosher. I'll be careful with my Shabbat observance. I'll give $1,000 to charity. And he continues his search, and he sees somebody pulling out right in front of him. And he says, never mind, God, I found a spot. So ever think, where does this word Jew come from? It's derived from the name Judah or Yehuda. Where did we get this name from? As Judah's mother's Leah said when she named him, Hapam Ode es Hashem, now I shall praise and give thanks to God. Yehuda means appreciation. Yehuda means gratitude. It's thanking God for that parking space, not it's okay, God, I found the spot without you. It's the recognition and it's the acknowledgement that what we have comes from God. That's Yehuda. That's the definition of the word Jew. So I'm going to tell you a story. After 40 years of traveling through the desert, the Jewish people reached the border of Canaan, the land of Israel. I'm going way back in the story. They gazed from afar at the beautiful apple orchards, the orange groves, the vineyards, the wheat fields. It was an exquisite yet strange sight, especially for the children. Because you understand, the children never saw Egypt. They never saw a city. For the children, all they knew was the wilderness. So now they're seeing this. All they had seen in their entire lives was sand and rock and sparse vegetation. What an amazing sight for these kids. So one little boy, Asher, looks up at his mother. He says, Mom, what are all those things that we're looking at? Mom says, oh, you see those big brown wooden pillars? They're called trees. Trees. You see the beautiful round fruits? Those are apples. Those are oranges. They have a sweet taste. Those stalks that you see billowing in the wind, there's something called grain inside. Inside that is called wheat, and it gets ground up, and it mixed with other ingredients, and we bake it in something called an oven. And when it's done, it becomes a food that we call bread. She's trying to explain all this to little Asher. The mother grabs her little boy's pinky, and she says, Asher, my dear son, you see a little fingernail here on your pinky? Well, a farmer takes a little seed that's even smaller than the nail on your pinky. And he takes that seed and he plants it in the ground. And then with some water and some sunshine and some air, big trees sprout forth. Those big things that you see, the brown wooden pillars, they come forth from that little seed that's the size of your little nail. And then wheat, the wheat starts growing and it becomes tall. These are the gifts that God enables us to enjoy. Little Asher looks up at his mother and he says, Mom, I may be young, but I'm not naive. It's a nice fairy tale you're telling me, but I know how things really work. Every day of my life, I've seen that God gives us manna from heaven. That's how we eat. He gives us double on Friday, so we take for Shabbat. I know that God rains down quail and we prepare it and we eat it. That I know. I know that we drink from a water called Miriam's well and that follows us on our trips across the desert. That I know. That I understand. That's natural, Mom. But your wild fantasies about big pillars coming up from the ground, about grain and fruits coming from tiny seeds the size of my pinky fingernail. Give me a break, Mom. Such miracles don't happen. Really, Mom, you probably watch too many science fiction movies. It's not possible. Now, I don't think the story actually happened, but it sure could have. Is the miracle of an apple or a pear any less spectacular than manna raining down from heaven? Is a sunrise or a sunset any less miraculous than the splitting of the sea? Or is it only our subjective experience of what is natural and what is miraculous? The challenge we have is to recognize and be grateful for all the miracles and blessings that take place each and every single one of our days. In spite of all the things we don't have, we must acknowledge and appreciate the blessings that we do have. People ask me after the Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur sermon, I'm just taking a break here, how is it that my kippah didn't fall off Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and every other sermon I keep moving to get my kippah to stay on my head? So here's the answer. It's called a bobby pin, and I put it into the back so it holds it in place, but it was starting to slip off, so I needed this little break to, there we go. I think we're secure now. Some of you have this habit of counting how many times I touch my yarmulke during a sermon, so there you go. Around 10 years ago, there was a very well-to-do Israeli businessman, let's call him Ronan, who in the good times was riding high. He was a multimillionaire who enjoyed all of the finer things in life. God and religion didn't play much of a role in his life. After all, it was his creativity, it was his ingenuity that built his empire. Now, one of the most magnificent development projects of all time in Israel is a business complex in Tel Aviv called the Azrieli Center. Anyone that's been to Israel, you have seen these buildings in Tel Aviv. They are magnificent. As this $350 million project was nearing completion, this guy Ronan was given the opportunity to purchase the entire top floor, which was the 49th floor of the tallest of the three towers. It would cost him tens of millions of dollars, but he could swing it. He had it. And he was about to pull the trigger on the deal when one of his best friends came up with a much better deal, a better investment idea. Hungary, he said. Hungary is where you should be putting your money. For the same money that you can buy one floor in Tel Aviv, you can buy 10 whole buildings in Hungary. And the economy there is on the rise. In just 2 years, you'll triple your money. To make a long story short, Ronan took his friend's advice. And he dropped the Azrieli idea, and he went with Hungary. And before long, he lost everything. And I mean everything. Everything he built, everything he saved, everything he bought, including his own home, had to be liquidated. And even after all of that, he still owed 17,000 shekels to the Israeli Revenue Service. Ronan was so distraught. How could God allow such a thing to happen to me? Is this what we call a compassionate God? So fast overnight from riches to rags. I have to find a way now to build myself back up. But how? But when? But where? I don't even have the 17,000 shekels to get the government off my back. How can I maneuver anything? And where are all his friends? Nowhere to be found. The same cold shoulder he once gave others was now being turned to him. His calls weren't returned. Nobody wanted to see him. Nobody wanted to know him. Banks wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. But then, just as he was about to lose all hope, one old friend did return his call. And he said, Ronan, I hear you need a loan. Come and see me. I think I owe you a few favors for the good old days. As irony would have it, the friend's office was located on the 49th floor of the Azrieli Center. The very same place that he was going to invest and purchase but didn't. The very same floor that he could have been on. And he came to the center and he took the elevator to his friend's office and he explained his predicament. And with little hesitation, this friend counted out 17,000 shekels in cash. Ronan signed for it, shook hands, put the bills inside his coat pocket, and exited the office to the plush corridor. He's standing there all alone, but he couldn't help but contemplate the irony that this whole floor could have been his. So he decided to walk around a little bit and explore and see the beauty of the floor that he could have had. After a few minutes of strolling, he sees a set of stairs leading up to a large metal door. So he went up the stairs, opened the door, and the cold wind suddenly blew in his face. Lo and behold, he was on the roof. The 49th floor was the highest floor, and it led to the roof of the building. It was such a beautiful view from up there. So he decided to check it out some more. Magnificent. You can see the Jordanian hills in one direction, the Mediterranean Sea on the other. And just as he was enjoying this, he heard this loud thud behind him. The wind slammed the roof access door shut. And he tries to open it, but it seems to be locked. So he's pounding on the door, but nothing. No one hears him. He tries kicking it, nothing. Pounding, kicking, yelling. He wasn't being heard. He pulls out his cell phone. Sure enough, the battery is dead. Totally dead. He can't believe it. He's stuck here on the roof. The wind is getting stronger and colder. And he wasn't dressed for this. He goes to the edge of the building and he peers over the small protective fence and begins waving his arms and yelling to the people below. But after a few minutes, he realizes that there's no way anyone can notice him from 49 floors up, and it's getting colder and later. And not much longer, it's going to be dark. And he's going to be stuck there for the night. He'll never survive out there. Desperate circumstances call for desperate measures. He had cash in his pocket. So he figured, let me use it as a hook. He took a 100 shekel note from one of the packets that he had, and he threw it over the fence. And he watched it as it floated wildly in the wind. And finally, after several minutes, it landed on the other side of the street. And he's staring at it because certainly whoever's going to find it and pick it up is going to look up to see where it came from. And someone stops, bends down, picks it up, and continues walking. So he takes out another bill, and he lets them drop. Maybe volume would grab more attention, so he lets a nice handful of it. Again, no one noticed it until it hits the ground. They walk by, they pick up the money, they look around for more, and they kept going. Now the sun's about to set. He knew what he had to do, his only chance. He took all the money that he had, and that certainly was going to get everyone's attention when suddenly they see thousands of shekels flying in the wind, but at least someone's going to see him and save him from being stuck up there for the night. And so he gives a yell out, hoping someone will hear, and he throws all the money down. This is the last piece of optimism that he has. Perhaps someone will see it. And he removes his shirt and he's waving it to make a tumult, to make noise. Someone's going to look up and see him. Instead, now there's a crowd gathering below. Everyone is running around, grabbing the money that's floating, but no one's looking up. Instead, they're fighting with their neighbor. I got that first. No, I got this one first. It was mine. All they're doing is looking for more. No one, not a single person, looked up to see where is the money coming from. His all-in plan was an utter failure. And with the last remnants of daylight making their last stand, his eyes filled with tears. And he felt himself compelled to turn to God like never before. And he yells out, Hashem, Hashem, Tazor li, help me. Please help me. I'm on the very bottom. I'm on the bottom of life. I've lost it all, and now I'm stuck here. And I have nothing left to me. Help. He's taking another walk around the roof, the perimeter roof, and he spots something that he didn't see before. A tiny sack of gravel. Tiny pebbles that have been left behind by the roofer. So he took it to the fence. He took out a scoop of these tiny pebbles, and he tosses the pebbles now over the side and begins waving his arms and looking down again. And he can see how now some of the people that are looking around for if there's any more bills are struck by the tiny pebbles. And immediately when they're hit by the pebble, they look up and they see this wild man with his shirt waving, screaming, and they're cursing at him. In a matter of minutes, the police officers come storming onto the roof access with guns drawn, and they handcuff him and they take him to the station. but at least he was saved. He took some explaining. He explained what happened. He was lucky that no one was really hurt from the pebbles, but he did lose 17,000 shekels. He still owed the taxes, but at least he was alive. There'll be another day tomorrow. When Ronan had a chance to reflect on the events of that day, he made this observation about life, which I'd like to share with you tonight. Isn't it interesting that the entire time that money was raining down from heaven, nobody, not a single soul on the street, bothered to look up to see where it was coming from? They only looked down to see if they could find more, and find more and more. But as soon as they felt the slightest bit of pain, a little pebble struck them in the neck, immediately they looked up to find the culprit. Isn't that precisely symbolic of my behavior, thought Ronan? When he had all of his wealth, he was invincible. He was the mover, he was the shaker, he was the master of his game. It's all my doing. I did it all. But as soon as things went sour, he knew whom to blame for his misery. The moment he was in real trouble, he knew where he had to turn for help. You see, when things are not going well for us, or at least not how we feel they should be going, we know how to call God to task. How can you do this to me, God? How cruel of you, God? We know how to look up. And you know what? That's fine. We're entitled. Cry out to the heavens. But at the same time, let's play fear. Let's also look up for the good things. Let's also look up when the reward comes into our pockets. You know, the story of Bernie the Jew from the East Side decides to take a different path in life. And he joins a monastery. And he takes a vow of silence. He's told the rules. He's only allowed to say 2 words every 7 years. 2 words every 7 years. After the first 7 years, the elders bring him in and they say, okay, Bernie, you can say your 2 words. Bernie says, food stinks. They nod and they send him away. 7 years pass. They bring him back. Bernie, 2 more words. He clears his throat and he says, bed hard. They nod and they send him away. 7 more years pass. They bring him in for his 2 words. Bernie says, floor cold. Again, they nod. Another 7 years. He's up for 2 words. Bernie says, I quit. To which the elders say, we're not surprised. You've been complaining ever since you got here. It's all about attitude. There are some realities we can change and some we can't. But I assure you, our success or our failure, our happiness or our misery in life will not be determined by the number of setbacks or disappointments we encounter, but rather how we react to them. Positive people can be positive regardless of what adversity comes their way, while negative people can be negative regardless of what good fortunes come their way. Positive, optimistic, and happy people make the world a better place, while negative, pessimistic, and unhappy people make it a far worse place. So when we pray for a happy new year, we should realize how much of that is really in our own hands. Yes, we need God's blessings, but we also need us to make it a happy new year. So as we go into the time of rejoicing of this holiday season, the times of joy, we need to tune into that inner joy, that which we have that power over. A positive attitude is something we can all develop if we know how to be thankful for what we have rather than constantly looking at what others have and wishing it for ourselves. Focus on the good in your own castle, not what you see next door or next block. As the saying goes, don't measure your insides against other people's outsides. And that's what we always do. You have no idea what's really going on the inside in other people's lives. All you see is the external. All you see is the outside. And you measure that against your inside, but that's unfair. A man in Naples, Italy, once came to a psychologist, and he's complaining that he's so unhappy. He's down. He's depressed. So the psychologist says, you know what I recommend for you? You need to get out and laugh a little bit. You got to get out. There's this great comedian. His name is Carlini, and he's performing at the big theater. Go buy yourself a ticket. Check him out. You'll have a great laugh. It'll drive away some of your depression. The guy says to him, Doctor, you really don't understand. I am Carlini. I'm that funny man everyone comes to see. It's a powerful story. I am Carlini. That's what it is, my friends. The guy is out there on stage every night getting everyone else to yuck it up. People think he probably laughs all day long, telling himself those jokes. Deep down, he's miserable. And you never know it. You just don't know what's really going on with other people. There's a fascinating psychological study recently done where the following question was posed to a sampling of people. And I want you to hear the question, and I want you to answer it honestly. You're not going to have to call it out. I want you to yourself to truly think of the question and think of what you would honestly answer if no one else would know what your answer is. And here's the question. Would you rather earn $100,000 when everyone else around you is making $50,000? Or would you rather make $200,000, but everyone around you is making $400,000? And the study makes clear that the question assumes that the cost of living and goods stay exactly the same in either scenario. A rational person, if we were only using rational, would choose, of course, the second option, because you're making double the money, right? You're making $200,000, whereas in the first example, you're only making $100,000. You'll have twice to spend on the same pricing, no difference of inflation. And in reality, most of us picked the first option. The most important consideration was simply being richer than other people. See, positive people, to have that positive attitude, and it's not easy. Just because I'm saying it doesn't mean it's easy. I don't think it's easy. It's a challenge for us. But that's what we're entering. We're entering in a period of time of Zman Simchaseinu where we need to find that inner joy. And so we can't sit around envying or begrudging others, because that will never lead to inner joy. You have to find a way to actually be happy for other people's success and good fortune. Positive people are grateful people, and they know how to appreciate, and they know how to say thank you, and they know how to say thank you to God, and they know how to say thank you to their fellow man, and they mean it when they say it. Positive people tend to be generous people. Their greatest satisfaction and pleasure in life comes from what they give and what they do for others. They truly get joy when they give. So, my friends, by all means, this is the season of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And by the way, I'll let you in that the Hasidus teaches us and Jewish mysticism teaches us that the days between Yom Kippur and Sukkot, which is exactly where we are right now, these 4 days are extremely powerful spiritual days for us to bring down abundant blessings from above. The blessings that we've asked for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and has been granted is now hovering above. We have the ability now to pull it down. So imagine there's blessings up there in the clouds, and all it takes is a mitzvah on your part, a good deed, an act of caring, an act of charity to actually start bringing it down. And then on the holiday itself, on Sukkot, and especially on the last 2 days, Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah, we bring down, as I call it, buckets and buckets and buckets of blessings through the act of dancing, through expression of joy. But now we need to find that inner joy. That's there. It's within us. We just need to find it. So ask God for a lot. Ask God for all your heart desires. I'm not one that's going to tell you to ask for a little. I want each and every one of you to ask for a lot. You should all have so much in abundance. Why? So that you can be happy? No, that doesn't work. Pray so that you will be in a position to help others on even a bigger scale than now, and that will make you happy. I want you to win the lottery, not because the earnings are going to make you happy, because the statistics and the studies show those that win the lotteries are generally not happy. But if you take that blessing and you say, I will now use this to help others, care for others, give to others, sacrifice for others, that will make you happy. So pray deep from your heart today and tomorrow throughout this holiday for the joy of wealth. Not because the wealth will make you happy, but the wealth will allow you to experience happiness if you indeed understand that it's there for you to serve others and to care for others and to help others. That will bring you happiness. True happiness doesn't come from what we own. True happiness comes from what we're willing to share. Now, giving comes in many forms. Automatically, when you hear the word giving, you think it's all about charity and it's about writing the check or giving the credit card. And by all means, that definitely helps. We need the checks. We need the credit cards. Every organization, every charity organization obviously needs. But there's more to charity. Charity is about giving, giving of self, giving of soul, giving of heart. Charity is a smile too, smiling to someone. Bringing someone joy is charity. Saying a nice word to someone. Being an attentive ear, a sensitive heart. Sometimes just sitting silently beside a friend who is hurting can be the biggest gift we can give. It's not always about the money. It's about sharing, about giving, about caring, and you'll feel that joy come back to yourself. People need people. One of the biggest struggles that we have with the coronavirus going on, with the pandemic going on, is the fact that people are isolated. It goes against our nature because people need people. Isolation is not good for us. It's not good for us psychologically. It's not good for us in so many ways. It's not good for us spiritually. So even with this pandemic, as we've been speaking on our Rosh Hashanah sermon and the Yom Kippur sermon, we need to find a way to be together. Not violating socially distance, but we can still be together. We can be together in FaceTime. We can be together on the phones. We can be together in emails. We can be together if we're socially distant. We need still to be together and care for one another. Society must do this. Judaism demands that we do this. People need people. That's just the way we humans are wired, and that's definitely the way we, the Jewish people, are wired. And that's why being part of a community is so essential. And yes, again, it's a greater challenge in the time of a pandemic to be part of a community, but nevertheless, we have found a way to be part of a community. Look, we're getting together right now because we're part of a community. We're going to study together throughout the entire year because we're part of a community. We'll pray together as part of a community. And very, very soon as this pandemic lifts, we're going to come together like never before. I believe that the moment this is over, the synagogues will be packed like never before, and classes will be packed like never before, and we'll offer classes live and on Zoom and on Facebook and YouTube and alle Sachen. We need to feel part of a community. We need that for our own soul. We need so that we can give, so that we can share, and if need be, that we can receive. We need to be part of a people who get to know each other, to talk to each other, to care about each other, to help each other. That's what brings inner joy. And when this is further animated by Yiddishkeit, by faith, by spirituality, by prayer, by celebration, by Shabbat, by holidays, then it gels and it becomes something truly phenomenal. It becomes a dynamic force in our lives. You know, someone once described what a Jewish community is all about by comparing it to a wedge of geese in flight. One of the most impressive sights and phenomena of nature is the seasonal migration of geese. As each bird flaps its wings, that wind creates an uplift for the bird following it. So by flying in a V formation, which they do, and somehow they study this in their own first grade, they know to fly in a V formation. The whole flock will add 71% greater flying range than if each bird was flying alone. Phenomenal. They add 71% flying range because they know how to fly together. Think about it. That's what a Jewish community is meant to be. To provide the wind beneath each other's wings, thereby enabling each and every one of us to soar to new heights of our own individual potential. We grow, we fly high because we're together with each other. Together, there's nothing we can't do. But if we're alone, if we're isolated, if we're one individual, we have limitations. In 2015, our own Chabad community in the Gura Hills lost a gem of a man. His name was Hal Standell. And Hal was a sweet and dearly beloved man who was always happy. He just had this classic smile on his face. He radiated with such incredible joy. And whenever there was singing and dancing going on, Hal and his friend Ned, they would be right there, moving their feet and swinging their arms, lifting the spirits of the congregation even higher. At one Torah dedication celebration, somebody took a picture of Hal clutching a Torah and dancing with this incredible expression of love and devotion on his face. Now, somehow that photograph went on to become an iconic snapshot. We used it in some literature, in some brochure, and then it kind of caught on, and it had a life of its own, and it's still out there. And it has appeared in countless publications around the world to depict the consummate image of a Jew's proud celebration of his heritage. That picture must have been seen by over 1 million people by now. During the last years of Hal's life, he battled illness, fighting valiantly every step of the way. And even during some of the most difficult stages, he pushed himself with great struggle to be able to come to shul on Shabbos, because it meant so much for him to be there with all of us, and it meant so much to us, for us, to have him there with us. He would walk into shul and you felt the spirit just rise. The joy just grew. Needless to say, Hal Standell's favorite Yontif, his favorite holiday, was Sukkot and Simchas Torah. Unfortunately, by Simchas Torah of the year 2014, his condition had deteriorated too much and he just couldn't make it to shul. But on that Simchas Torah day, I stood up and I addressed the congregation. Some of you that are on this Zoom sermon, you were there. You remember this. And I said, if Hal Standell cannot come to Simchas Torah, what do you say we bring Simchas Torah to him? Sure, we can stay here and we can dance with the Torahs in the comfort of our air-conditioned synagogue, or we can take all these Torahs from their ark and we could march in the streets of Agura Hills and go to Hal's house and see to it that Mr. Simchas Torah is not left out of the festivities. I didn't even have to finish making the suggestions before people started making their way out the door to begin the procession. It happened to have been a scorching hot day. It was 103 degrees in Agura Hills that day. But we marched with the Torahs held high, with our talesim, with our baby strollers. We marched as a community all along the streets until we reached Hal's house. What words can I possibly use to describe the expression on Hal's face when he saw all of his friends who had been such a big part of his life for 20 years showing up at his door to hug him, to sing with him, to dance with him, to celebrate with him on his favorite holiday. Now, this time there was no photographer on hand to capture that moment. And yet, sick as he was at that time, the look on his face was every bit as radiant as on the day that famous picture was taken. A few months later, April of that year, Hal was back in the hospital. I visited him and he was in good spirits. And I left hopeful. The morning after my visit, I received a call from the hospital informing me that Hal was requesting that I come back and see him again and right away. I returned to his bedside, and I have never forgotten and will never forget what he said to me. He said, "Rabbi, I will be leaving this world today. They wanted to give me the morphine drip due to the pain, but I told them that I needed to see you first. I just want you to know, Rabbi, how special and how important our community was in my life. It was the happiest place on earth for me. Please, please tell all my friends at the shul that I told you this. Tell them how much I love them and how much they all mean to me. Tell them to keep growing, to keep working on bringing new faces to the shul so that they too can find the joy that I found. Please tell them. Please tell them." And just a short time thereafter, the neshama, the soul of Hal, of Chaim Herschel ben Shmuel, did in fact ascend on high. There is a simcha, there is a joy, there is a unity, there is a bond that exists in the Jewish community like truly no other place on earth. It's the simcha of love. It's the simcha of compassion. It's the simcha of a mitzvah. A Hasidic master once put it this way: on Yom Kippur, we describe how beautiful the songs of the angels are. You've read some of the prayers on Yom Kippur. And it's true that compared to the songs of the angels, the prayers of mortal man must sound pretty feeble. As a matter of fact, there is a very beautiful angel that has 1,000 heads. Each of the heads of this angel has 1,000 tongues, and each tongue has 1,000 voices, and each voice sings 1,000 melodies. So the beauty and the harmony of this angel's song is unbelievably heavenly. But you know what the rabbi said? For all of its beauty, for all of its harmony, this angel cannot give a morsel of bread to a hungry person. This angel cannot visit with the elderly. This angel cannot befriend a child with special needs. This angel cannot welcome someone into their home. This angel cannot lift the spirits of those who are down or celebrate with you at the special occasions in life. Only you can. Only we can. And because of this, we're even greater than the most awesome of all angels. A Jewish community is like a good sports team. You know, it's nice to have many fans, but you need good players on the field. If you're Jewish, you're not just a fan. You're not just some spectator watching from the stands or cheering us on. You're part of the team. So suit up and show up. We need your bat in the lineup. You can hit, you can pitch, you can field, you can bunt. Every one of us can do something. Everyone without exception can do something to be part of a greater Jewish community. That's how we find that inner joy. By being unified, by being one, by being together, by caring for one another. The symbolism of the holiday of Sukkot is the lulav and the esrog and the hadassah and the rav of the four species coming together. And with that, we shake them together. We make a blessing, sanctifying the moment. It's symbolic of bringing the entire community, the Jewish community, all spectrums of the community together. Everyone plays a role. Everyone has a role. And that's the way we bring the sanctity. That's the way we bring the blessings from God in. And we're surrounded by the walls of the sukkah, which represents the holiness and the Shekhinah and the divine presence. That's the joy that we seek. It's all around us. We have to open our eyes. We have to see it. And we have to open our hearts. And we have to feel it. I'll be back next Thursday night at 7 for the final of this 4-part lecture series on the high holidays, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Simchat Torah. I take this opportunity to wish you again Shabbat Shalom and a Chag Sameach. It should indeed be a yontif of joy, a yontif of simcha, a yontif of happiness, a yontif of celebration, and a yontif of open miracles. Be well, everyone. We'll see you next week.